Hi, we're here at Breakforth with Tim NEUFELD. Listen, you're a Juno Award winner. You are a West Coast Award nominee and a winner, I believe, right?
It's true.
You have won multiple Covenant Awards here in GMA Canada, a couple of Dove Awards. We're waiting for a Grammy eventually.
Yes.
You were one of the founding members with your brother John of the wonderful worship group Starfield.
Yeah.
And now you are a part of a crazy bunch of hillbillies called the Glory Boys. This is quite a switch for you.
It's all true. I'm a big deal, Kevin.
Well,
This is a big get for you.
I want to tell you what. Here's what I thought. I was watching some of your promo videos for the tour that's coming up, and here's what I think. You are becoming the Don Cherry of gospel music.
Wow.
Right?
I did not see that coming. I guess so.
Well, you know, you speak English and Canadian.
Yeah, true.
And if you don't know what I'm talking about, you have to go Google Tim NEUFELD and the Glory Boys and look at some of these promo videos for the tour. They're hilarious.
We try to have fun.
You know, here's the thing that I wanted to ask you. You've got this brand new music. It's complete, stylistically a big change. It's a rebranding of yourself. Was that kind of scary? To make that big
Sort
leap?
of. At first it was, but it was sort of something that I had to do. I don't have any skills outside of starting a band and trying to make it work. So to tell the story briefly, about 5 years ago, my brother and I, who had been in Starfield for over a decade, decided that we needed to just take a step back, look at our lives, see what else maybe God had in store for us, or we had dreams that we wanted to kind of follow and chase after. And for me, it was always this covers album and something on my own. And so we did that, and then we started touring it, and touring it in a way that was a little different from Starfield. It's kind of a classic pop rock worship band. And this was more aligned with my roots, which I grew up in a family that was really very musical, and a lot of bluegrass instruments were present. So my grandpa played the mandolin. My dad was always on the acoustic guitar and the harmonica. There's no pictures that exist of my great-grandfather that doesn't have a big old banjo in it.
That's great.
In the turn of the century. So
this is kind of back to your roots. This is kind of what you grew up with, and now it's kind of morphed into what you're doing now.
Yeah, I mean, we also jumped on the Mumford & Sons bandwagon.
Sure.
I'm also a smart and savvy businessman.
That's right.
I want to be in something that's going to be attractive to people, but it sort of worked out. It's like the best of both worlds. So we did a tour of that covers album, and people seemed to really dig it. So then it was like, well, the next step is to write an album of originals, which was the Joy record. Toured that, momentum grew. We did another covers record, and then this most recent Hootenanny record, which is sort of the culmination of this crazy, as you explain it.
I love it.
An energetic sort of, I guess it's a take on worship, but it's also a take on just church and entertainment and what we do as entertainers and worship leaders in church, mixed with a lot of Canadiana. And I haven't had as much fun as I'm having right now ever in my music
Well, the
career.
one thing, I went back and read an article that you had talked about when your Joy album came out. And then listening to Hootenanny and watching you guys live, I love that you guys are bringing some hope and joy back to touring. And I think, especially in Christian music, sometimes we take ourselves too seriously, and we miss that.
Yeah,
we miss
do.
that. We say be joyful, but we're almost afraid to have too much fun in a concert. Have you got any pushback from people going, hey, you were really worshipful before? Why? Have people commented on that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
But I mean, I would always counter with, you know, it's what you are referring to, what you are feeling is not so much either joy or worship or not worship or intimacy or not intimacy. It's just, it's a style.
Sure it is.
It's a way of doing things.
Yeah.
And our grandparents, they were much more conservative and you know, throwback than we'll ever be. We're sort of hearkening back to an age. In fact, we're not really even proving anything that is going to, you know, be known of as starting now. It's stuff that we're borrowing from the past. And my experience as a worship leader and being in front of lots of crowds all around the world has just sort of made me realize, like you said, that we're just so serious.
Yeah.
Worship music, we're trained to just behave in a certain way that is very stoic and reverent, and those things are great, but I think irreverence is also great. And being able to poke fun at ourselves and self-deprecation is just not something that we grew up with in the church. I respond, my personality, and I just love comedy. I love sarcasm, I love self-deprecation, and that is, it doesn't translate in the church, so that's where we had to kind of come up with this goofy thing. I mean, originally it was called Tim Neufeld and the Hallelujah Glory Boys. I just wanted to make a name with as many syllables as I could get away with. It's
How
just
hard can this be to
ridiculousness.
possibly say? It's
Yeah,
gonna be great.
exactly. And then it's just Tim and the Glory Boys. But it's all in an effort to just say, hey, let's have fun. Let's not care too much about our appearance and being rock stars and trying to like kind of rethink the wheel, but at the same time, let's make sure that it's about loving people. Let's make sure it's about like the congregations that come out being multi-generational and multi-denominational. And it's been unbelievable to see that, to see this crowd of blue hair and young kids, families, 3-4 generations, Pentecostals and Baptists and Catholics in the same room.
That's hard to do.
It is hard to do.
I mean, but
it's not. I mean, now that it's what we do, it's sort of we take it for granted, but it's happening and it's awesome.
that's one of the problems we often say in church. Where else do you play to young kids and old people? It doesn't always translate easily, because stylistically everybody likes something different.
Yeah.
But this kind of fun approach you're taking does seem to span all kinds of generations and denominational lines. I think it's wonderful. Now you're touring like a machine. You always have, and you still continue to do that.
Yeah.
And we were talking earlier, I've been doing this for a little over 30 years, and I look back and I see so many of my friends, their families have fallen apart. And yet somehow you've been able to focus on Carla and your 3 kids, and you make time for that. That's obviously difficult.
Yes, yeah, it is, and it's not without its struggles. I think what people should know is that I'm not the rock star in the family. It's really my wife, Carla.
Right. It usually is, isn't it?
Yeah, and we met on the road, and she was passionate about road managing for somebody else at the time. So there's that kind of start. We were on the same path, where I think she's also excited by it, and
She gets it.
yeah, and she feels like she's a part of it.
Right.
Even as she's making sure stuff at home is all put together properly and running like a machine.
Right.
When I'm gone, and we every single time we go away, we typically will tour for 2 weeks. In the bus, we'll meander through northern BC and then eventually get to Edmonton, and then we'll park the bus, we'll fly home for a week. We'll fly back out, we'll meander to Winnipeg. It's that kind of, it's an expensive way to tour, but
it's a cost worth it, isn't
absolutely
it?
worth it
For
for everybody. And not
For
just,
sure.
I have 3 kids, there's another member of the band that has a few kids, and then a couple newly married fellas who, they all need to be with their families. And they all need that home life to be something that they're investing in,
Right.
so that we're not islands and we come home and everybody forgets, who we are. And I've been there. We moved to Nashville for 3 years when we first got married, and we were lonely, and it was just an endless kind of tunnel of opportunities that we had to take because they were so important.
Right.
And one of the biggest regrets in my life is I missed both of my grandparents that were living at the time funerals because we were on a Casting Crowns tour and a Chris Tomlin tour and management. Everyone's like, well, if it was an immediate family member, maybe, but
Right.
but those things don't matter. No opportunity matters more than the priority of your home life, and it's that whole thing where you don't become identified by what you do.
Right.
You have to let it be an outpouring of who you are, especially as an artist, because if you don't have that base and that sort of well to draw from, you're kind of bankrupt.
Yeah. Well, you have transitioned so well from one group to this new group, and I just want you to know we love it.
It's worked out, but
Yeah.
I also feel really lucky. And I mean lucky. I don't even mean blessed, because I know in Christianity we don't like to interchange one for the other.
Right.
But there's a lot of people that have worked harder than I have, that have wanted it more, that haven't had the opportunities. And I just feel extremely.
Well, we cheer you on. You're
Awesome.
part of our
Thank you.
community, right? And we
I love
want to
it.
cheer you on, and it's
I want
awesome.
to be cheered on. I'm not gonna lie, but
Yeah.
it's definitely yeah. And it's not without struggles. I don't want it to seem like Carla and I are perfect either. Like,
But it's work, especially when you're touring like you are. It's a lot of
totally
work.
And we go through months where we feel like roommates and we hardly see each other and we don't take time for each other.
No.
And I actually said to her the other day, I said, I just kind of realized something today. I work way, way, way harder at loving our kids and being there for them and being excited when I see them, and like I'm way more intentional about it than I ever am with you. And I don't want to be that way. Like I want to change that. And it was a really good sort of catalyst for us to get into some conversations about, you know, how just life goes by. Having kids it sucks.
Yeah.
It's the best, worst thing I've ever done. Like,
yeah, right.
They ruin every outing. We have a 3-year-old that he just ruins everything.
Yeah, it totally takes
we
the
spend
fun out of so many
$1,000
things.
on like a weekend vacation at some amazing place, and it's just like, oh my gosh, I wish we were at home, because this kid.
Or back on the road so we can.
Or yeah. Well, I'm usually I don't have like that escape thing that some guys do that I've talked with. I love being around my family and my kids. It's not like I want to get away, but in the midst of that, still, it's hard, and priority in relationships is so important.
Well, I'll tell you, we know the struggles you go through. We appreciate them because you bring us so much joy when you're out on the road. Awesome. And if you're wanting to catch Tim and the Glory Boys, timmytour.com is available. Google Tim Neufeld, find out all about him, follow him on Facebook. You will be very glad you showed up at a concert. Thanks for being here, Tim.
Thank you for having me.